Let's open this deep dive with a fact that I think just immediately defines the absolute impossibility of Dolly Parton's career.
Okay.
You are looking at an artist who has sold, what, well over 100 million records worldwide.
Right.
Her professional career starts in the mid-1950s.
Right.
And in just the last few years, she's successfully conquered rock music and earned an honorary Oscar for her humanitarian work.
It's the scope. It's the sheer scope and the constant reinvention that just defies any easy explanation.
It really does.
We aren't just looking at longevity here. We are looking at constant successful mastery across 6 full decades. I mean, she mastered genre transitions, became a major actress, built the theme park empire.
And one of the world's most effective literacy charities. The sources really reveal this deep strategic mind at work behind all the glamour.
Oh, completely.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to analyze the exhaustive source material you provided, the articles, the research, the awards list, to really construct a detailed roadmap. We need to break down the key insights that explain how Dolly Rebecca Parton, born January 19, 1946, managed to synthesize all of it: the music, the acting, the entrepreneurship, and this massive philanthropy into an empire that is so authentically hers.
And when you look at that span of influence, you have to recognize the unique combination of her official titles. It's not just one thing.
No.
It's singer, songwriter, musician, actress, philanthropist, and businesswoman. And her accolades, they reflect this multidisciplinary mastery across the entire entertainment sphere.
We're talking about 11 Grammy Awards, 3 Emmys, nominations for 2 Academy Awards, 6 Golden Globes, and even a Tony Award nomination for her score work. It immediately makes you wonder, how close is she to that legendary ego status?
She is remarkably close, and that proximity alone, it just proves her total dominance in the industry.
So for our listeners, just to be clear, EGOT is?
Right. It's the Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony, the 4 major American entertainment awards. Dolly has the G and the E locked down. She has the Grammy and the Emmy. She has been nominated for the competitive Oscar for Best Original Song and the Tony for her musical score, but no competitive win yet.
Ah, so the honorary Oscar doesn't count for the EGOT.
Exactly. The Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award, which was announced for 2026, it recognizes her profound charity work, but it's a non-competitive honor, so it doesn't count toward the competitive EGOT.
Oh, absolutely.
The fact that she has secured nominations or wins in every single one of those fields speaks to an influence that, I mean, very few artists ever even approach.
That is the big picture. But if we drill down into her original realm, country music, she holds specific chart records that just cement her status as royalty. Uncontested.
And that's where the raw numbers get truly staggering.
Yeah.
She is, without a doubt, one of the most honored female country performers in history.
Right.
If you look purely at the Hot Country Songs chart, she's had 25 singles reach #1. That's a record she currently shares with Reba McEntire.
Okay, tied with Reba.
Tied with Reba. But when we shift focus to albums, she stands entirely alone. She holds the record for any artist, male or female, with 44 career top 10 country albums.
44.
44. Her ability to consistently produce album-length work that hits the highest rankings is just, it's unparalleled. It's a career built on staggering volume and undeniable quality.
It's a fascinating combination of grit and gold.
Yeah.
So let's unpack this journey, starting right at the beginning in Locust Ridge.
Let's do it.
The foundation of the Dolly Parton story, it really is one of profound, abject poverty. To understand the mogul, the philanthropist, the celebrity, you have to begin in that one-room cabin in Pittman Center, Tennessee.
It is the absolute foundational context for everything that came after. She was the 4th of 12 children. 12 children born to Avie Lee Caroline and Robert Lee Parton Sr. And when Dolly describes her early life, she uses the phrase dirt poor, and the sources confirm this was, this was genuine hardship.
This isn't just a good story for a song.
Not at all. The family's inability to afford even basic necessities is legendary. The definitive anecdote, of course, is about her birth itself.
The payment made with a sack of cornmeal.
Exactly. She was delivered by a missionary, Dr. Robert F. Thomas, and her father didn't have any money to pay him.
Right.
So the payment accepted was a sack of cornmeal. That single detail, it just encapsulates the resourcefulness and the scarcity of their life. And Dolly carried that memory forward. She later wrote a song about Dr. Thomas, forever linking her personal origin story directly back into her art and eventually her philanthropy.
That link between the poverty and the creative output is just so crucial. That experience isn't background noise. It is the emotional and narrative source code for her early songwriting.
Absolutely. This poverty, it's immortalized and explored in her classic tracks. You hear the themes of struggle, but also the dignity of hard work directly in songs like Coat of Many Colors.
Which is a literal story.
A completely literal story of her mother stitching together rags to make her a coat. And then you have a track like In the Good Old Days, when times were bad. Her art is rooted so deeply in her reality, which gave her material this undeniable, immediate authenticity that still resonates decades later.
So let's talk about her parents, because the sources credit them with giving her the DNA for both her art and her massive business empire. It's this incredible combination.
It really is. Her mother, Avie Lee, she was the repository of the Appalachian musical tradition, just essential. She would entertain this massive family by singing Smoky Mountain folklore and ancient ballads.
And these weren't just local songs.
No, the sources trace these songs back to their Welsh ancestors who carried them across the Atlantic centuries ago. Dolly credits her distinct singing style, her powerful voice, and her narrative focus directly to her mother's influence in that oral tradition of storytelling.
And her earliest platform for performing came directly from that side of the family.
Yes. Her mother's father, her grandfather Jake Owens, was a Pentecostal preacher. And that provided Dolly with her very first public performance platform. She was singing in church services by the tender age of 6. So you have the emotional depth, the storytelling, the performance skill all cultivated on her mother's side.
But the relentless ambition, the razor-sharp corporate efficiency of Dolly the CEO that had to have originated with her father, Robert Lee Parton Sr. How did an illiterate man instill such powerful business acumen in her?
That is the fascinating paradox, isn't it? Lee Parton couldn't read or write a handicap that Dolly later addressed so powerfully with the Imagination Library. Yet she has said many times that he was one of the smartest people she has ever known with regard to business and making a profit.
So she just watched him?
She observed him. She saw his ability to negotiate, to manage their incredibly scarce resources efficiently, and to ensure that every transaction, whether it was trading goods or managing the farm, yielded a positive return.
So she recognized an instinctual ability to turn scarce resources into profit, and then she married that with her art.
Precisely. She internalized that idea that resourcefulness equals survival and survival equals success. That combination, the rich artistic heritage from her mother and the pragmatic, almost ruthless business efficiency from her father, that is the complete blueprint for the Parton Corporation we see today.
She had the heart and the stories and the ability to turn a sack of cornmeal into $1 million deal. So how quickly did she manage to translate those innate talents into an actual professional career path?
Extremely quickly. By age 7, she was already playing a homemade instrument. At 8, her uncle bought her her first real guitar. By age 10, she was a regular performer on local Knoxville radio and television.
The Cass Walker Show, right?
Exactly, the Cass Walker Show. This was not a hobby for her. She was honing her craft and performing publicly well before she was even a teenager.
Her professional recording debut, Puppy Love, came when she was just 13. But the crucial moment, the one that really solidified her ambition, came in 1959.
That's the legendary meeting at the Grand Ole Opry with Johnny Cash. Cash, seeing this small, incredibly ambitious girl, took the time to advise her. He told her to follow her instincts and never let anyone change who she was. That encouragement was the spark she needed.
Because what happened next was definitive.
Completely. The day after she graduated from Sevier County High School in 1964, she moved straight to Nashville. No hesitation, no delay, no backup plan.
That commitment is just incredible. But the sources show her initial focus in Nashville wasn't immediately on being a singer. She chose to focus on songwriting first. Why that strategic approach, given her immense desire for fame?
She understood even then that her long-term financial security would be rooted in owning her intellectual property.
Wow.
Songwriting was the most immediate route to a stable income and, crucially, to building a catalog of owned content. She signed with Combine Publishing and worked intensely with her uncle, Bill Owens, just focusing on crafting hits for other people. She was smart enough to prove her value behind the scenes before she tried to step into the spotlight.
And that songwriting partnership was incredibly successful right out of the gate, which just validated the whole strategy.
It was almost instantaneous. They wrote Put It Off Until Tomorrow and The Company You Keep, and both became top 10 hits for Bill Phillips in 1966.
Right.
And then Skeeter Davis found success with their song Fuel to the Flame in 1967. By writing hits for established artists, she was building this vital foundation of credibility and capital.
Yet when she signed with Monument Records in 1965, the label tried to steer her away from country music entirely. What was the resistance there?
The sources reveal that Monument initially tried to market her as a bubblegum pop singer.
Pop.
Pop. This was entirely due to her vocal characteristics. Her unusually high, distinctive soprano voice was considered difficult for the prevailing trends in country at that time. They felt it wouldn't fit the expected sound, so they had her release a string of pop singles, but they just stalled. They failed to gain any real traction.
So she was just stuck in this kind of pop purgatory until the success of her writing forced the label's hand.
Exactly. It took the unexpected success of her own composition, Put It Off Until Tomorrow, going to number 6 on the country chart for Bill Phillips, for Monument to finally realize their folly.
They couldn't ignore it anymore.
They couldn't. They couldn't ignore the clear country appeal of the material she was generating. And that realization finally led to her first true country single, Dumb Blonde, in 1967.
And that was a hit.
It broke into the top 25, followed by Something Fishy. Monument finally committed to her, leading to her debut album, Hello, I'm Dolly. The foundation was laid, but the next step would be the launchpad to national recognition.
The launchpad, of course, was that critically important and often dramatically contentious 7-year partnership with Porter Wagoner. Dolly joined the Porter Wagoner Show in 1967. This was an absolute game changer, but the sources emphasized it was a very difficult start.
It was a trial by fire, a complete trial by fire. She was replacing the extremely popular singer Norma Jean,
who the audience loved.
They adored her, and Dolly recounts that she faced visible, sometimes loudly hostile resistance from the audience. They would literally chant Norma Jean during her performances.
Oh.
It took Wagoner's strong backing and her sheer talent and charisma to endure that initial rejection and eventually win the audience over.
And Wagoner's involvement went far beyond just television exposure. This was a structured business arrangement that tied her financially to him.
Absolutely. Wagoner used his influence to convince his label, RCA Victor, to sign her. However, the label's strategy was to mitigate risk. So they released her first singles not as a solo artist, but as duets with the established star, Wagoner.
And that worked.
It paid off immediately. Their cover of The Last Thing on My Mind hit the country top 10 in early 1968, and that started a sustained run of chart-topping duets for them.
But the financial mechanics are really the key to understanding the tension of this era.
They are. Wagoner served as her co-producer, but most critically, by 1969, he was co-owner of Opar.
And Opar was
the publishing company Dolly had established with her uncle, Bill Owens. This gave Wagoner a substantial financial and therefore controlling stake in Dolly's intellectual property. He was heavily invested in her success, which only intensified the creative conflict when she wanted to pursue her own path.
Right, because despite all the duet success, her solo career initially stalled for the first couple of years.
Her solo efforts were just ignored. She felt creatively stifled, and she was frustrated by Wagoner's attempts to push her toward purely traditional material. The breakthrough came when he convinced her to record a novelty track, Jimmie Rodgers' Mule Skinner Blues.
And that hit.
It shot to number 3. It proved she could succeed alone, and it paved the way for her first #1 solo single, Joshua, in February 1971.
And once that solo barrier was broken, the hits just exploded, giving us defining songs like Coat of Many Colors. But Dolly eventually realized she had outgrown the partnership.
She saw the ceiling of the duet partnership. The sources confirmed the decision to pursue a full-time solo career was fraught. Their concert run ended in April 1974, though Wagoner did continue producing her records through 75.
And the emotional summation of that complex relationship was captured in a single song.
I Will Always Love You, written specifically about her professional separation from Porter Wagoner.
It went straight to #1 on the country chart in 1974. And here is where we hit, I think, the most pivotal business moment of her entire career. The confrontation with Elvis Presley's manager.
Yes.
We absolutely have to analyze this deeply because this one choice defined her entire financial future.
Elvis Presley was interested in recording the song, which, would have been an instant career mega boost and a crossover dream come true for her.
Of course.
Dolly met with him. She was ready to go until she spoke with his legendary manager, Colonel Tom Parker.
And Parker had a rule.
He had an ironclad policy. He insisted that she had to sign over half of the song's publishing rights to Elvis if he recorded it.
Half.
50%.
And she, an artist who's barely finding her footing outside of this very protective partnership, She looked at that deal and refused.
She refused, despite the immense pressure, the guarantee of instant, massive fame and wealth from an Elvis hit. She held firm on retaining full ownership of her creation.
She valued the property over the payday.
The intellectual property over the quick payday. That single, painful business decision, defying one of the most powerful managers in music history, is the reason she earned, and I quote, many millions of dollars in royalties from the song over the years later on. It was pure, far-sighted business brilliance she learned from her father.
That courage is astonishing. And it speaks to her prolific genius that she wasn't just working on one masterpiece during this tumultuous time. The anecdote that she composed both Jolene and I Will Always Love You in the same songwriting session.
It's legendary.
It has to be celebrated.
She said, buddy, that was a good night. And you just have to imagine that burst of creativity, a profound ballad of professional separation and a timeless narrative of female insecurity written back to back. It cemented her place as one of the most gifted songwriters of her generation.
Her chart dominance in 1974 really confirms that creative peak. 3 solo #1 singles that year. She was ready for the next level. A national breakout.
And she executed a highly strategic crossover campaign between 1976 and 1986. The first major move was hiring manager Sandy Gallen in 1976.
Who stayed with her for how long?
For the next 25 years. And this move signaled a conscious shift away from the strict country market.
She started exploring genres immediately, experimenting with different sounds.
Her 1977 album, New Harvest, First Gathering, was her first completely self-produced effort. It gave her artistic control to really push the boundaries. She demonstrated her pop sensibilities by covering R&B classics like My Girl and Higher. She was subtly packaging herself for a much broader audience.
But the actual pop breakthrough, that came with Here You Come Again in 1977, which she co-produced with a high-profile pop producer, Gary Klein.
It was a calculated smash. It became her first million seller. It reached number 20 on the pop chart. And the title track became her first pop top 10 single, reaching number 3.
A huge moment.
A huge moment. It earned her a Grammy in 1978 and led to a string of hits like Heartbreaker and Baby I'm Burning that charted on both country and pop simultaneously. She was everywhere, amplified by these candid, witty TV appearances.
But the career explosion, the moment she became a legitimate multimedia triple threat, was her film debut in 1980 with 9 to 5.
Yes.
Co-starring Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin.
That film instantly turned her into a major cinematic force. She earned Golden Globe nominations for Best Actress and New Star of the Year, but more importantly, the theme song 9 to 5 was a cultural phenomenon and a huge business win.
That song achieved a rare total domination of the charts.
It did. In February 1981, 9 to 5 topped the country, the pop, and the adult contemporary charts all at the same time.
That's incredible.
She became one of the very few female country singers to ever achieve that triple #1 status. And the song's Academy Award nomination for Best Original Song just cemented her status as a mainstream writer and performer.
And we have to revisit the detail about the instrumentation of that song because it tells you everything about her resourcefulness.
It's the perfect detail. The iconic rhythmic beat you hear throughout the track, it did not come from a traditional percussionist.
No.
Dolly created that rhythmic sound herself using her long fingernails, clacking them together backstage on the film set. She truly used what she had available. And in that moment, her signature glamorous aesthetic became a literal instrument of her success.
Following that success, she continued acting, notably in The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas in 1982.
Which earned her another Golden Globe nomination and resulted in that second successful re-recording of I Will Always Love You.
And we can't overlook her massive collaboration with Kenny Rogers on Islands in the Stream in 1983.
Written by the Bee Gees, produced by Barry Gibb. That duet spent 2 weeks at #1 on the pop chart. It demonstrated that her crossover appeal was durable and highly profitable.
But despite all this success, the mid-'80s saw a commercial dip, signaling the end of her RCA Victor contract in 1986. She moved to Columbia Records in 1987, entering the next phase of her career, defined by artistic returns and massive financial windfalls.
The shift to Columbia in '87, it coincided with a really critical artistic decision. She needed to recenter her career, and she did so spectacularly with the album Trio alongside Emmylou Harris and Linda Ronstadt.
That album felt like a necessary correction, didn't it? Pulling back from the full-bore pop attempts that had slightly muddied her brand.
It was a triumphant return to traditional roots. Trio spent 5 weeks at #1 on the country albums chart. It hit the top 10 on the pop chart, and it won a Grammy. This massive critical success reminded the world of the sheer raw power of her vocal talent and her foundational genre.
Especially after the commercial disappointment of her solo pop album Rainbow later that same year.
Right. That experience pushed her focus back toward core country material, which led to the 1989 album White Limousine and 2 more #1 hits. She was back on the country throne.
But the financial fortune resulting from her earlier courage was still to come, thanks to Whitney Houston.
The I Will Always Love You dividend, revisited. The money generated from the 1992 Houston recording for the Bodyguard soundtrack was just staggering.
Let's talk about the scale of that windfall. Why was it so much bigger than her 1974 version?
The Houston single sold over 12 million copies worldwide. And the soundtrack itself was one of the best-selling in history because Dolly had refused Colonel Tom Parker and retained 100% of the publishing rights.
Every penny.
She received the massive royalty streams from all 12 million sales, plus radio play, film usage, licensing globally. It was the ultimate exponential validation of her 1974 business decision. It solidified her status as a wealthy, independent artist.
It is the ultimate payoff for maintaining control over your intellectual property. Her career continued with high-profile collaborations, too.
Honky Tonk Angels in '93 reunited her with country legends Loretta Lynn and Tammy Wynette, and that went gold.
And Dolly never stopped creatively testing the boundaries in the studio. In the mid-90s, she released Treasures, which was this highly eclectic mix of 60s and 70s covers.
Mac Davis, Neil Young, and she even had a successful remix of her recording of Cat Stevens' Peace Train that charted on Billboard's dance singles chart.
A dance hit.
A dance hit. It just demonstrates she was willing to play with any genre if it amused her.
This willingness to experiment really sets the stage for the fascinating period starting around 1999. The strategic deep dive into traditional genres, specifically the bluegrass period.
And this produced some of her most critically acclaimed later work. The Grass is Blue from 1999 was an artistic triumph. It won the Grammy for Best Bluegrass Album. She found this critical and artistic rejuvenation by returning to the sounds of her Appalachian youth.
And then she doubled down on genre bending, mixing traditional and totally unexpected sounds.
She took huge creative risks. Little Sparrow in 2001 featured a bluegrass cover of Collective Soul's alternative rock hit Shine.
Which won a Grammy.
It won a Grammy for Best Female Country Vocal Performance. But the peak of this delightful absurdity was on Halos and Horns in 2002, where she recorded a traditional bluegrass arrangement of Led Zeppelin's epic Stairway to Heaven.
Fame.
It cemented her reputation as an artist who respects traditional forms but absolutely refuses to be bound by them.
The unexpected pivots never stopped. In 2005, she earned her second Academy Award nomination for Best Original Song for Travelin' Through, written for the film Transamerica. And that nomination, paired with the subject matter, brought her into a significant cultural controversy.
The song in the film involved the acceptance of a transgender woman, which was a highly sensitive subject at the time. And Dolly received significant backlash, even death threats, because she stood by the song and its message of acceptance.
Wow.
She showed genuine moral courage, using her platform to support inclusion despite potential career damage.
This era also saw her become an independent label owner, founding Dolly Records in 2007.
That's another key step toward total control over her output. Her 2008 album Backwoods Barbie achieved her then highest charting position on the Billboard 200 at number 17. She was now a true independent mogul.
Which leads us right up to the modern era and her most recent and perhaps most surprising pivot, becoming a rock star. The journey to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was fascinating, especially her initial public refusal of the 2022 nomination.
Her initial public rejection was based on genuine humility. She felt the hall should be reserved for those who primarily dedicated their lives to rock.
Right.
However, after the hall insisted she was qualified and the public encouraged her, she accepted. And she embraced the challenge by declaring that she would earn her induction.
And that led directly to the Rockstar album released in 2023, which was a full-scale, dedicated rock project.
It wasn't a gentle foray. It was a massive, high-profile collaboration featuring rock royalty, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, Sting, John Fogerty.
Her goddaughter, Miley Cyrus.
Right. It was a calculated, strategic, artistic move to fully enter the rock genre.
And the commercial results were truly historic.
The album peaked at number 3 on the Billboard 200. I have to reiterate that fact. 6 decades into her professional life, she releases a rock album, and it becomes her highest-charting solo studio album ever.
That's just incredible.
It speaks to her enduring appeal and her ability to generate massive commercial success simply through the force of her will and her brand.
Her productivity continues, including the 2025 track, If You Hadn't Been There, a tribute to her late husband, Carl Dean. We should also note her current status regarding touring.
Right. While she has stated she will no longer tour due to the physical demands of long-term travel, she is still planning live appearances. Her announced 6-date Las Vegas residency, Dolly, live in Las Vegas, was postponed to September 2026 for health procedures, but the immense demand for her presence remains.
Before we transition to her business empire, we need a moment to truly appreciate her artistry and musicianship. It's often overshadowed by the persona, but it's the bedrock of her success.
Despite being unable to read sheet music, learning everything by ear based on that oral tradition, she is a serious multi-instrumentalist.
Right.
The sources list her ability to play the dulcimer, autoharp, banjo, both acoustic and electric guitar, fiddle, piano, recorder, and even the saxophone. She relies on instinct and that innate musical DNA.
And the resourcefulness we saw in the 9-to-5 fingernail beat is the perfect metaphor for her career.
It truly is. She takes whatever resources are at hand, even her own signature long nails, and turns them into something original and commercially viable. That innate ability to transform the mundane into the magical, whether in music or in business, is her defining trait.
We've traced her music career, but to understand the full scope of the Dolly Parton empire, we have to look at her financial ventures and her massive philanthropic legacy, which are just inextricably linked to her East Tennessee roots.
Dolly Parton's net worth was estimated around $500 million as of 2017, and she was ranked the wealthiest country music star way back in 1998. The key is her investment strategy. She deliberately pours her earnings back into her home region of East Tennessee.
Right, she co-owns a Dollywood company.
Exactly. She created a massive economic engine right where she grew up, providing jobs and stability in a region that desperately needed it.
So what exactly does the Dollywood company empire include today?
It's a huge tourist engine. The center of it is the Dollywood theme park in Pigeon Forge. It ranks as the 24th most popular theme park in the U.S., attracting about 3 million visitors a year.
3 million.
And the empire also includes Dollywood's Splash Country Water Park and these highly successful dinner theater venues like Dolly Parton's Stampede,
which has locations in Branson, Missouri, and Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
And Parrots Voyage as well.
And the expansion continues. She's still consciously building her legacy through real estate and tourism.
Absolutely. Looking ahead to 2026, she's opening Dolly Parton's Songteller Hotel and Dolly's Life of Many Colors Museum right in downtown Nashville. It's billed as the largest exhibit celebrating her life anywhere to date. It's a continuous, multi-front investment strategy rooted in her personal narrative.
Besides the theme parks, we have to look at her surprising reach into mainstream media production through Sand Productions, which she co-owned with Sandy Gallen.
Sand was a genuine film and television powerhouse. It produced the Oscar-winning documentary Common Threads, Stories from the Quilt in 1989.
And here's the fun surprise for pop culture enthusiasts. Dolly Parton, the Queen of Country, was the executive producer behind the television series Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
From 1997 to 2003, and major films like Father of the Bride in 1991.
Dolly Parton, executive producer of The Slayer. It's astonishing how many different facets of the entertainment world her business name touches. But arguably, the most important facet, the one that truly secures her moral legacy, is her philanthropy, centered around the Dollywood Foundation.
And this is where the story connects right back to her earliest, most painful memory of her father's illiteracy. The chief effort of the foundation is Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, founded specifically in his honor.
And the simplicity and the scale of this program are what make it so revolutionary and effective.
The logistics are just genius in their simplicity. The foundation mails one high-quality, age-appropriate book per month directly to enrolled children from birth until they enter kindergarten.
That's it.
That's it. The goal is that by the age of 5, the child has built a home library of 60 books, which significantly improves early childhood literacy rates and kindergarten readiness.
And the scale of it now is just breathtaking.
It is a global program. It operates in over 1,600 communities across 5 countries: the U.S., Canada, the UK, Australia, and the Republic of Ireland. It's reaching almost 850,000 children every single month.
Wow.
It requires local partnerships, but the model works because of its clear, immediate impact. In 2018, she celebrated a massive milestone, donating the 100 millionth free book to the Library of Congress.
Beyond literacy, Dolly's charitable work is known for its immediate, direct impact, often using the concept of unconditional cash support in disaster relief. A powerful example is her response to the 2016 Great Smoky Mountains wildfires.
The My People Fund. It was established following those devastating fires. Dolly and her businesses raised around $9 million.
And the aid was distributed as cash.
Straight cash. $1,000 a month for 6 months to over 900 affected families, and then an extra $5,000 in the final month. So $10,000 per family.
And that cash relief model was actually studied scientifically by the University of Tennessee.
Yes. Professor Stacia West and the UT College of Social Work studied the impact of that unconditional cash support. And the study concluded that this model, giving families the cash directly, without restrictions so they could prioritize their own needs, was highly beneficial for disaster relief.
Right.
It helped them rapidly return to financial stability and significantly improve their emergency savings compared to traditional methods that rely on restricted, in-kind aid.
Then, of course, there's the incredible science connection. Her philanthropy literally helps fund life-saving medical research at a critical moment in world history.
In April 2020, at the very start of the COVID-19 pandemic, Parton donated $1 million toward research at Vanderbilt University Medical Center.
And that funding
actually supported the critical early stages of development for the technology that led to the creation of the Moderna vaccine.
So Dolly Parton is part of the story of solving the global pandemic.
Yeah.
And she backed up her donation by publicly getting vaccinated.
She was publicly vaccinated in March 2021, and she memorably joked that she was getting a dose of her own medicine. Beyond the pandemic, she has pledged $500,000 toward the Robert F. Thomas Hospital and Cancer Center in Sevierville, named for the doctor who delivered her. And most recently, in 2024, she announced a $2 million donation toward Hurricane Helene relief.
This combination of sharp business savvy and immense generosity earned her the highest level of recognition in philanthropy outside of entertainment.
In 2022, she was presented with the $100 million Bezos Courage and Civility Award, specifically for her work improving children's literacy around the world. It's hard to imagine another figure who commands such universal respect across entertainment, commerce, and humanitarian efforts.
The Dolly Parton persona is perhaps the most famous and recognizable in modern entertainment. She built her entire brand on an aesthetic that she patterned after what many considered, well, unconventional.
She's openly discussed patterning her look after the town tramp because to her, that represented glamour and freedom. She calls her signature style a country girl's idea of glam that perfectly matches her outgoing personality.
And she controls the narrative by owning the artifice completely.
Totally.
And she uses self-deprecating humor to disarm any critics. Everyone knows the famous quote, "It takes a lot of money to look this cheap."
And that includes her extremely frank perspective on cosmetic surgery, which she addresses with famous candor. The quote is, "If I see something sagging, bagging, or dragging, I'll get it nipped, tucked, or sucked."
It's part of maintaining the image she created, and she is just refreshingly honest about the work involved. What's truly remarkable is how her image has transcended pop culture, becoming a global symbol used across fields from science to the military.
That's where the cultural impact gets surreal. We have Dolly the sheep, named after her because the cloning material came from a mammary gland cell.
Right.
Then there's the General W.K. Wilson Jr. Bridge in Mobile, Alabama, commonly called the Dolly Parton Bridge because the soaring arches resemble her bust.
And the military connection, the T-72A main battle tank armor, being nicknamed Dolly Parton.
Yes. The thickened frontal armor of the T-72A earned the unofficial NATO nickname Dolly Parton, with later versions being called the Super Dolly Parton. Her physical image literally became military and scientific shorthand for a prominent, robust feature.
Her image is so defining that, ironically, when she entered a Dolly Parton drag queen lookalike contest in 2012, she lost.
It speaks to the ubiquity and the power of her distinct aesthetic.
Now, let's pivot to the most elusive and important figure in her life. Her late husband, Carl Dean. Their relationship began the day after she graduated high school. She met Carl Thomas Dean at the Wishy Washy Laundromat in Nashville in 1964. 2 years later, they married. That commitment lasted nearly 59 years, until his death in March 2025.
For a star of her global profile, their relationship was maintained with intense privacy. Carl Dean was renowned for shunning publicity. He rarely accompanied her to public events. Dolly stated he saw her perform in public only once.
Just once. How did they manage the logistics of maintaining such a private marriage amidst such public scrutiny?
Dolly emphasized that while he was private, he wasn't isolated. They made a conscious effort to keep his life completely separate from the Hollywood whirlwind. She noted he would often visit Dollywood by himself and just tour the park totally unrecognized, enjoying the success of her enterprise quietly.
Wow.
It was a remarkable balancing act of extreme visibility and intense privacy.
They never had children of their own, but they had a huge family presence through her siblings.
They played a significant hands-on role in helping raise several of her younger siblings in Nashville. This led her nieces and nephews to coin the nicknames Uncle Peepaw and Aunt Granny.
Aunt Granny, which inspired one of the popular Dollywood restaurants.
Exactly. And we also must note her profound and famous role as godmother to singer-songwriter and actress Miley Cyrus.
Finally, let's briefly examine her unique, nuanced approach to faith and politics.
She identifies as a committed Christian, and her faith has consistently influenced her music. However, her views are quite liberal for her genre. In 2024, she described her evolving faith, saying, "I wouldn't even say I'm religious, but emphasizing her deep personal faith in God and her support system."
And when it comes to social issues, she's been clear.
She openly supported same-sex marriage way back in 2009. But when it comes to presidential politics, she draws a hard line on neutrality. Her refusal to accept the Presidential Medal of Freedom 3 times.
3 times.
Twice under Trump and once under Biden, specifically to avoid the appearance of political association, is the ultimate illustration of her commitment to impartiality.
The sheer volume of awards and honors Parton has collected over the years is just a testament to her unique position in the culture, crossing every industry boundary imaginable.
Looking at her Halls of Fame inductions really summarizes her empire. She's in the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame, the Country Music Hall of Fame, the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
But also in the business sector.
Right. The International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions Hall of Fame in 2025, and the Licensing International Hall of Fame in 2025.
And then there are the high-profile, non-music, government, and humanitarian honors.
She received the National Medal of Arts in 2004, the Kennedy Center Honors in 2006, and that honorary Oscar, the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award, announced for 2026. This recognition places her alongside icons of humanitarian effort in film.
And let's not forget the enduring records of her longevity.
She holds the truly unique status of having appeared on the country music charts in 7 decades.
7 decades.
From the 1950s through the 2020s. And in 2023, Rolling Stone ranked her at number 27 on their list of the 200 greatest singers of all time.
And her own community recognized her status early on, which she cherishes most.
Her hometown of Sevierville, Tennessee, created a bronze sculpture of her on the courthouse lawn. Dolly has often called that statue the greatest honor because it came directly from the people who knew her before the fame.
And as a final, wonderful piece of trivia, her influence extends even to the natural world and the cosmos.
Absolutely. In 2015, a newly discovered species of lichen found in the southern Appalachians was named Jepuela dollypartoniana in her honor, recognizing her efforts to support the region.
And in 2022,
an asteroid was officially named after her, 10731 Dolly Parton. From a microscopic fungus to an astronomical body, her name covers the entire spectrum. If we synthesize this deep dive, Dolly Parton's incredible, sustained success over 60 years is not an accident. It is a direct result of 4 carefully executed pillars.
First, the Appalachian roots that provided the artistic authenticity in her moral compass. Second, the masterful crossover music career, defined by these sharp creative pivots from country to pop to bluegrass and culminating in rock.
Right.
Third, the self-funded business model, epitomized by the Dollywood Company and Sand Productions, which ensures her financial security and localized economic impact. And finally, the transformative philanthropy of the Imagination Library, driven directly by her personal history with illiteracy.
It's all connected.
Her famous humor, her glamour, her seemingly effortless transition between every cultural mountain she chose to climb, it's all backed by relentless work and a truly razor-sharp business sense.
And what we've truly seen is the immense long-term value of retaining creative control, epitomized by her decision to keep the publishing rights to I Will Always Love You, and the reciprocal generosity of pouring that massive financial success back into East Tennessee. It's a complete ethical ecosystem.
It is. So we leave you with one final provocative thought. Building on her long history of challenging conventions and reinventing genres, I mean, she conquered pop, she did bluegrass covers of Led Zeppelin, and just had her highest charting solo album ever as a rock star. What cultural mountain remains for the woman who has successfully done everything? Her autobiographical Broadway musical, Dolly, a true original musical, is targeting 2026. But what unattempted field, what new dimension of the arts, media, or science will the queen of country, rock, and philanthropy attempt to master next? Something for you to mull over until our next deep dive.
Indeed.
Thank you for sharing your fascinating sources with us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.